but football on today's Ben Garcia show. We'll talk some Arizona Cardinals. Did they do the right thing in preseason? Basically punting on the preseason as a whole. Was it the right move? Are they ready for week one? I think there's a clear argument to make that maybe they're not. As well as Sam Leavitt, ASU quarterback, is criminally underrated. Let's talk about that and much more on this edition of the Ben Garcia Show.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Woo. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like callus. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I apologize for not being here on Friday. Power issues were just happening in the Garcia household. Literally nothing I can do when it comes to all those things. So I couldn't plan for a show. The power was on in the morning, but I wasn't able to make my overlays, wasn't able to make my thumbnails. So with that being said, we just took a mental health day on Friday, as well as, just given the fact that, let's just call it what it is, the Arizona Cardinals wasted our time on Saturday. They didn't give us any reason to want to watch that game. They absolutely wasted people's time. No one was paying attention to that. And so, honestly, I didn't feel like it was much of a reason for me to really come on here and give you deep dive analytical opinions on Clayton Tune, which we will talk about here in just a second. ASU football also is about to begin their season this coming Saturday. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But do me a favor, follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Follow me on all social media platforms. And also, one more thing. I have 5 spots available in the Subscriber Fantasy Football League. I think we're going to draft this upcoming Friday. If you want to be in that, let me know. DM me at Ben Garcia Show. If we don't get the right amount of people, then we just won't do it. It's no big deal. I've already given invites out to the people that have asked for it. DM me or at me on social media at Ben Garcia Show. Tell me you want to be in it. I'll DM you if you can't DM me. And we'll get you in and we'll play that Subscriber Fantasy Football League. I want to play against you guys. I've got about 5 spots left, I think it is. So with that being said, hit me up on there if you are interested. But we got a lot of things to get into. So let's start right here. So we've talked about ASU football extensively. We are going to talk about ASU football extensively on this show. It is going to be something that's a staple, probably on Mondays and a little bit on Fridays when the games start to be played. It is football season, and we're going to talk about all of it. However, with that being said, ASU, we talked about a couple of weeks ago what the expectations are for them. And just to recap on those things, it basically all starts here. Can you live up to the expectations of a team with actual expectations? Last year's team didn't have that. They were picked to finish last in the Big 12. No one believed in them. Legitimately no one. But then Kenny Dillingham comes in the fold and does what I believe all great coaches do. Get more out of your talent. I think coaches struggle to get the correct amount of talent, or not correct, but I think they struggle to get any talent out of their talented players, if that makes sense. Anyone can just go in and call plays. Can you coach up universally the offense and the defense and get more out of your players when you don't have the same skill as, let's say, a Texas does? And it's all about, you have our attention, now prove it. And in Arizona, one of the things I actually kind of enjoy is that fans don't show up unless you give them a reason to. Now, that doesn't mean they don't show up when the team is bad. That's not a good thing. If they're building something, if they're doing all the right things, like I believe people should be at Suns games this year. They're doing the right things. They're taking their vegetables. They're taking their vitamins, and they're going to be more fun than they were the year prior. However, last year, towards the end of the season, no. Why would you go watch that team? I'm not giving you a reason to. The Diamondbacks, Beginning of the season, yep, go support that team. The fact that they still can't figure out the bullpen, the fact that Torey Lovello is still making the same boneheaded decisions. They barely fired their third base coach last week. That should have been done a month ago, 2 months ago. So don't show up for teams because you're loyal. That's ridiculous. Show up because they give you a reason to. And ASU has given you a reason to. Even the first year Kenny Dillingham was here, they didn't win a lot of games, but they were fun to watch, and you saw the trajectory arrow of where they were going, and it was pointed all the way up. And so with ASU this year, it's about expectations. Can you live up to those expectations? Can you do something when you actually have people looking at you? And so with that being said, ASU should absolutely be the favorite in the Big 12. They've got the best quarterback, more on him in a second. They've got the best wide receiver and potentially the best running back and safety combination. They've got dudes everywhere on this team. And so that's not really where I want to go. I want to focus on Sam Leavitt because ASU is still not getting what I believe the respect that they've earned over the last season to this year. And that starts with here in Sam Leavitt. You know, I see quarterbacks, and thankfully, I'm not going to lose myself today on the stream because Arch Manning is ranked 23 on the ESPN Top 100 College Football Players list. He is two behind. He's two behind, that being Sam Leavitt. Now, I have issues with Arch Manning being the 23rd ranked quarterback, or not, the 23rd best player in college football because he's literally yet to play any meaningful snaps. However, he's not ahead of Sam Leavitt. But I've seen Joel Klatt put him at number 1 in college football rankings list. I've seen numerous lists where Arch Manning is already ahead of Sam Leavitt. But we'll put him to the side for now. Because other quarterbacks that ranked ahead of Sam Leavitt in the ESPN Top 100 rankings of players, Lenore Sellers, Drew Aller, John Mateer, let's see who else is in here. Cade Klubnik, if I'm not mistaken, and Garrett Nussmeier. This isn't me saying that those players aren't good. This is me saying, can Sam Leavitt get credit for actually doing the thing? Drew Aller on Penn State, I like his measurements. I like his tangibles. But he's a little bit of a question mark, very similar to J.J. McCarthy was coming out of Michigan. He hands the ball off. He finds 5-star wide receivers open. There is a clear separation from Sam Leavitt and the rest of the college football quarterback crowd. And that is very plainly this. Sam Leavitt has done the thing. And it's to the point where Sam Leavitt is the most criminally underrated, not just player in college, or I guess I should say, it's come to the point where Sam Leavitt is not just the most criminally underrated quarterback in college football, he might be the most underrated player in football. And it's to the point where you saw what he did last year. Arch Manning, Lenore Sellers, Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik. Who is the other guy on here? I just missed for a second. Oh, Garrett Nussmeier. None of those guys are doing what Sam Leavitt did last year. And that was with the talent he had, which was in every game he had the best running back. Everything else, no. In the Texas game, he went up against a future NFL quarterback in Quinn Ewers. And Quinn Ewers had the better position player in legitimately every spot outside of the running back position. And the reasoning why, that to the point where it's just absolutely asinine, is that Sam Leavitt should have beat Texas. And it's just to the point where he is the most underrated player in college football. Lenore Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, those guys aren't doing what Sam Leavitt has done in college football. And it's to the point where, good, because it benefits teams like the Arizona Cardinals who have a quarterback in Kyler Murray who, if he doesn't perform this year, Sam Leavitt could fall to them. But it's just absolutely asinine at this point where you look at John Mateer, who was at Washington State last year, and now Oklahoma being ranked higher than Sam Leavitt. Arch Manning, who has played Panera Bread State, McDonald's University, and Burger King Community College, and that's about it. There's no respect anymore for quarterbacks who have actually done the thing. What did Lenora Sellers do last year with South Carolina? Oh, they missed the playoffs. What did Garrett Nussmeier do? Oh, he missed the playoffs. Oh, well, they play in the SEC. That also means they have SEC talent. ASU didn't have Big 12 talent last year. But because of the competency of Kenny Dillingham and the skill level of Sam Leavitt and Cam Scadaboo, they were able to get into the playoff and win their conference. There was only one team coming out of the Big 12. And ASU, Sam Leavitt and company did it. There's no respect anymore for actually doing the thing. We're more interested in narratives and hype. Because the statistics aren't mind-blowing. But that's because he's out there, he's running out wide receivers who are community college guys and 3-star guys. If you gave Sam Leavitt the talent that Lenora Sellers or Arch Manning or Garrett Nussmeier or John Mateer have, he'd be a Heisman Trophy favorite finalist. But because he doesn't, because he's hidden in ASU, he has become the most underrated player in college football, and not just at the quarterback position. So I'm excited, man. I mean, it's hard for me to just say, it's hard for me to say that guy has not earned his way and earned his keep. So Sam Leavitt, criminally underrated. Let's go to the Arizona Cardinals. And it's really interesting with the Cardinals because I want to talk about if they wasted the preseason. Can I just be frank with you guys? The Arizona Cardinals wasted our time on Saturday. And they wasted our time last Saturday too. And I do think there is something to Jonathan Gannon waving the white flag after the second series in the Broncos game and having everyone out there fighting for a roster spot offensively and giving them a plastic knife and a bazooka fight in Clayton Tune. Guys that are trying to put film. I'm not asking you to play Kyler, but could you run Jacoby Brissett out there so we could see what we have in the rest of the wide receiver and running back depth rooms and even at the offensive line position? I think the Arizona Cardinals walked all over training camp. Walked all over the preseason. I can't attest to training camp. And here has been my argument for why the Arizona Cardinals should have at least ran it out there dress rehearsal style in the third preseason game and probably the second preseason game too. If the Kansas City Chiefs, who are a current dynasty right now, run out their starters each and every preseason game, you are not too good to run out starters. And then people will say to me, well, Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams, those guys, they didn't play their starters. They never play their starters. Okay, Sean McVay's got a ring. What makes you qualified to do less when you haven't earned that? I do think the Arizona Cardinals could have done more in preseason. And I believe they're playing with fire. In the week 1 opener against the New Orleans Saints, you have to win that game. I brought this up in the Cardinals Squad show for the Locked On Podcast Network on Saturday. And I asked my co-hosts Clancy and Jameel if the week 1 game against the New Orleans Saints is a must-win game. And they told me, no, it's not. It feels crazy to me. In a season in which is so important for Kyler, for the fact that we know what he is, plays fairly well until the bye week hits, and post-bye week, he falls off a cliff. And this year, he's got potential division winner after potential division winner. They needed to, I believe, have the extra reps, even at least in the second preseason game. Because against the New Orleans Saints, if they lose that game, oh my God, everyone's head is going to explode. But you have a soft landing spot here. The Arizona Cardinals schedule is, I just want to bring it out in front of me, is obviously a fairly easy way to start the season. You've got Tyler Shuck, Bryce Young, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold to start the year. The last thing you want to do is go into those games with a 0-1 start, a 1-1 start going against the 49ers, and you're staring at a below 500 hole. The Rams, if I'm not mistaken, have the Houston Texans week 1. They could easily lose that game. The Niners have the Seahawks. They could lose that game. You could be tied for first place after the first week of the season. You have to take advantage of that, which is why I asked for extra reps going into these games, playing hard, getting the dress rehearsal done, playing a game, playing a series or two. Well, they could get injured. They could get injured in any game. You're minimizing the risk by not doing it the entirety of the game. So I'm not here condemning the Cardinals season. That's not me. That's not what I'm trying to say. That's not what I want to do. I'm just saying it feels like it was misused a little bit. You have these opportunities out in front of you to get extra reps, simulating game speed, and you decided against it. And that will be brought up if the Cardinals look really sluggish in the first half or lose their game against the New Orleans Saints. We're all going to point to, did you take preseason or did you not take preseason seriously? And here's some of the other things. I feel like I have to state these things because I do this show. And, I'm growing the show and it takes time to grow it. And I'm all good with that stuff. But I have to point out where I'm right so you have a reason to keep coming back. What was the one thing I mentioned 3 months ago? Hey, I know you guys love Will Johnson. He's going to struggle to start the season. Do you want to know why? My expert NFL knowledge opinion? Oh, it's because every first-year cornerback, no matter how highly drafted they are, struggle at least a little bit. Because the transition from college to the pros is so difficult at the cornerback position. You're going on an island with some of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And Will Johnson has been so-so. It's not me saying he's going to be a bad player. That's nonsense. I think he's going to be awesome. But to expect him to come out and be awesome right away is doing a disservice to Will Johnson and not allowing him to come into his own as a rookie. Give it a month. Give it 2 months. That young cornerback secondary group, that young defensive back position group in Garrett Williams, Max Mellon, and Will Johnson is going to struggle a little bit to start the season. Because opposing quarterbacks are going to be licking their chops to expose that young cornerback position. And they're going to win some, and they're going to lose some. But I mentioned that. And in the preseason, we've seen it. Will Johnson has looked so-so. He's a rookie. That's what's going to happen. Zero worries about him and his potential in the NFL. But the transition is so difficult. Asking him to come in and be prime Darrelle Revis right away was always crazy. Number 2, the Arizona Cardinals defensive line looks really freaking good. And I'm not on my own in this, but they look really freaking good. And they're so much more deeper than they were last year. And that's going to be something that's going to alleviate the pressure from the defensive back position. Jordan Birch, I said after one preseason game, holy hell, that guy might be a steal. I kind of held that take in because I wasn't sure how crazy it would sound. I had to wait for a little bit of validation, so I'll take a little bit of an L on that one. But I did mention Jordan Birch looks really good. I watched him push Kansas City Chiefs offensive linemen around. He should have had multiple sacks in that game, and they got negated. He looks awesome. He's going to take Baron Browning or Zaven Collins' spot by the end of the season. And when Walter Nolan comes back into the fold, holy hell, that's going to be a scary front seven. And then lastly, this is something I got in trouble for. I got in trouble for this, and I was right. Again. When you're watching football, a wise man once told me, trust your eyes. Don't trust what everyone else is telling you. Don't let people tell you that something is different than what you're seeing right in front of you, both from a literal and figurative aspect. That offensive line is not as good as it was last year. The interior of that offensive line is really worrisome. Even more specifically, Jonah Williams on the right tackle spot. TBD. You are hanging on a thread with him. And you better hope Kelvin Beachum has another year left in him. And then the backups, if someone gets injured. I mentioned directly after Will Hernandez got here, the Cardinals worry about their depth at their offensive line position. And that's exactly what has happened. The depth on the offensive line is not there. So you either A, have to pray for serious health. And also just so we're clear, I don't think this is going to be a bottom 5 offensive line or a bottom 10 offensive line. But I'm worried because of the depth as well that it could be worse than it was last year. Now, to be fair, Kyler Murray can move. It's going to be harder to sack him anyways. But Jonah Williams and the interior of that offensive line, mostly at the right guard spot for Isaiah Adams, left guard spot for, doesn't matter. At the guard spot with Isaiah Adams, that is worrisome. John Gaines, Will Hernandez will back those guys up, Kelvin Beachum. But it's very clear why they brought Will Hernandez here. It's because they were very concerned about the depth at that position. And so it all comes down to this. Are the Arizona Cardinals ready for week 1 against the New Orleans Saints? I believe they are. But because they didn't take preseason as seriously as I believe they should have, it's going to be very bumpy in that first half. You're going to see an extension of the preseason in that first quarter and probably bleeding into the second quarter. But I'll say it here. I'll say it now. Week 1 against the New Orleans Saints is a must-win. Not for a playoff not statistically speaking. If they lose that game, they're out of the playoffs. But it is going to freaking hurt. And it's not something you're going to feel right away. It's something you're going to feel in week 16, week 17, week 18 when you're in actual must-win games. You don't get very many gimmies in the NFL. But Tyler Shuck looks awful. Spencer Rattler looks awful. Kellen Moore is a first-year head coach. I can name 5 players on that Saints team that actually would definitely make another roster elsewhere in the NFL. You have to win that game. You have to come out, get a win, and although I don't think they used the preseason as effectively as they could have, they need to go in there and get a win. Because you don't get a lot of gimmies, and because the Cardinals schedule is so rough in the second part of seasons, and because we know what Kyler looks like post-bye week, you've got to give yourself some margin for error in that last 6-week stretch in the season when you are going up against potential division winner and potential division winner each and every week. So the Cardinals, I believe they're ready, and I believe they're way more talented. But they cannot take their eyes off of week 1 and look forward into week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. Week 1 is so important. And they need to come out and make a statement. If they win by 1, if they win by 30, whatever. But they need to come out, pick off Tyler Shuck, show Marvin Harrison Jr.'s second-year leap, see what Trey Benson can do in a second year. The offensive line needs to be dominant. The defensive line needs to show why they are much improved. And then we will start talking about, okay, preseason was fine. Training camp was good. This team is for real. And we can't say that because they didn't take the preseason seriously enough. And it might work. It might not. I'm not condemning the team. Everyone's got their own strategy. If I was head coach of a team, I'd probably copy the Kansas City Chiefs model, but they didn't. Week 1 is important. I believe they're ready. There's no excuses to not go on the road and beat the hell out of the New Orleans Saints. But they got to keep their eye on that. So with that being said, guys, follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show, as well as if you want to be a part of the Fantasy Football League, I got 5 spots available. At me on Twitter and tell me you want to play in it, and I'll DM you, or DM me if you have the ability to do so on any social media platform, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, My handle is the same everywhere at Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for tuning into the stream. I'll be back Wednesday. I'm going to go on another vacation this weekend. I'm unsure if I'm going to do a Friday show. There's just not a lot going on, and I want one more mental break before the season starts, because after that, it's full steam ahead. But I'll keep you guys updated on those schedules. Do me a favor, hit the like, share, subscribe button, follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show, and I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.